When you're going to set up a user with an Eyegaze Edge, it's important that you understand positioning so that it's not tiring and overly difficult for the user. So this is an Eyegaze Edge tablet, and it's on an arm, as most of them are, that moves up and down. So you have a lot of flexibility in how you set up the system. There are a few things that are pretty important to remember. It's on an arm that articulates, so the arm will go up and down, and it'll go side to side, and it will also tip forward and backward. So you've got a lot of flexibility in the arm. Hold the arm when you grab the screen to move it, if you're going to change the angle of it. Okay, when you're lining somebody up to use the system, you want it to be a comfortable position that they can maintain for a long period of time. So you never want the screen much higher than eye level. It's tiring to have to look up to see the screen. So Kathy is lined up right now so that the top of the screen is at eye level, and that's a good spot for it to be. The camera is adjustable, and that camera is going to get pointed at one eye or the other. So I can actually move it up and down. It doesn't go side to side, the whole screen goes side to side. So it's this kind of movement. Now I'm going to move it up, and I'm going to look in the upper right hand corner of the screen for the eye images. So now I've got her eye focused. So what I would really want to do first is to say to her, is this a good distance for you? Do you want the screen closer? And someone can answer yes and no very quickly by looking up for yes, down for no. So if you want to get a quick answer and you're not familiar with how that person normally communicates yes and no, you can ask them to do it that way. So when I've got it all lined up, now there are two little windows on the upper right hand corner of the screen, and they have images of the eye. The one to the right is the field of view of the camera. The one to the left is a close-up. And in between the two is a little focus indicator. So as you're positioning the camera to get the eye in focus, you're going to be looking at that eye window and lining it up so that it's visible and centered on this eye window. The camera has a focus ring on it, and it's all the way back. So if you take your fingers and slide them as far back as they can go, there's a ring there that will move, that will adjust the focus. So as I'm repositioning this, if I wanted to make it a little closer to Kathy's eye, I could do that and just continue to refocus it and change the angle until it's in good position. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me now. It's the top of the screen's at eye level. It's parallel to her face. So that's probably a little bit better. I've angled it a tiny bit, and I'm going to find the eye again. And now on the screen there are two different buttons. One says skip calibration and the other says start calibration. And I'm going to hit start calibration, and that is going to bring up the first point on the screen. And she's calibrating. She's looking at that yellow dot. It moves because it's gotten enough information about where her eye is pointed. So if it keeps going, it's because she's looking at the dots. If it stops, it's because it doesn't have enough information. So it's automated to the user, and now we're in the system. A very important thing to remember is that you never want to touch the camera and adjust the camera once she's calibrated. The camera is part of the geometry that lets the system figure out where the eye is pointed. So if I start messing with this camera, what's going to happen is I'm going to end up changing the geometry, and it's going to predict the gaze point incorrectly. On the camera, on one side, there's a little locking nut, and I can turn that and tighten it once calibration has been done. So that'll help you remember not to change the angle, but it's really important not to refocus it. If I need to move it because Kathy's in a different position, or I've moved it away, she's taken a break and she's coming back, what I'm going to do is reposition it by using that eye image and getting the eye image centered again in the screen. If you have someone who's reclining, because this is adjustable and the arm goes up and down, if it's on a table or a rolling mount that also goes up and down, you want to raise the screen up, the arm up quite high. And I'm going to actually take this screen off because I can't get it high enough, just to show you what that would look like. So if I was sitting and looking at the screen, it would be there. If I was reclining and looking at the screen, it would be there. And by doing that, I'm keeping the top of the screen at eye level, and I'm keeping it parallel to my face. This isn't going to work. It needs to be parallel to the face, just like that. There's a couple other things you need to know about the eye image. In addition to the little focus indicator that's in the center, and a close-up image that's on the left, and a field of view image that's on the right, it will actually tell you if you get too far out of focus. If the image of the eye turns red, that means retreat. So you're going to want to move the screen a little bit further away. If the image turns green, green means go forward. You're going to want to move the screen a little bit forward. Remember not to do it with the camera. I could grab that focus ring and change the focus, but you will really mess up the accuracy of the system. This is how you want to do it, by moving the screen forward and backward. Okay, so now Kathy's reclining and she's looking at the screen, and if you draw a line from her eyes up to the top of the screen, it's about eye level and it's parallel to her face. You would not want to have the screen here for somebody reclining, and you wouldn't obviously want to do it there. So if you step back and kind of look at the positioning, look how it's set up, you're not going to go too far off. The other thing that I sometimes do, and you can do it certainly if it's a family member, is I go down next to their face and I look at the screen and say, yeah, that would be comfortable. This is important because it's what makes people tired when they're running a system. If they have to struggle to see the screen clearly, they're not going to be able to do it for a long period of time.